I'm standing there in the midst of this protest in absolute shock and extremely scared. And, this is a place where I should feel safe and open to express my Jewish identity. And the situation on campus at the time was not a place where I could feel safe to do so.
Calling Hamas freedom fighters, I consider that a symptom of a process ongoing, an atmosphere of dehumanization of the Israeli society, of Zionism, because at the end, the targets are all Jews around the world.
Joining me now to share their experiences are university students from around the world. From Australia, Idan Al-Chassid. From Brazil, Ariel Marmelstein. From the United States, Leah Koritz. And from Ireland, Jamie O'Mahony. Thank you all for joining us. So Jamie, let me turn to you first. You're a student at Dublin City University, and a video of you having an Israeli flag violently snatched from you went viral. Tell us what happened and what the fallout was like.
So essentially, about 2 weeks before the event, I saw an event being advertised by the Ireland-Palestine Solidarity Campaign involving Ilan Pappé, who is a renowned anti-Zionist academic writer. Despite having grown up in Israel, he has now come to the belief that the state shouldn't exist. He's just a very despicable figure, frankly. You couldn't call him a historian because he has said himself he doesn't believe in objective facts. But nonetheless, I bought and read one of his books last year to try and understand how these people think. Not out of admiration, obviously. But I noticed that he was coming to my home city, and I felt myself that I couldn't allow him to come to my home city and not give him a bit of a challenge. So I decided to go along with two friends. I waited peacefully through the 45-minute lecture until it got to the Q&A, at which stage I tried to pose a couple of points to him based on some pieces that I had read in his book or that he had written elsewhere, and ultimately coming to something that he said during the talk itself. I got about 45 seconds through what I was trying to say, amidst booing and shouts of abuse by the rest of the crowd, who slowly started to realize that maybe I thought a bit differently to the rest of them in the room. About 70 plus people in the room, I would say. And at which stage I went to take an Israel flag out of my bag, and I started to say, "Am Israel Chai," and this one lunatic in front of me decided to try and grab it out of my hand. And then a bit of a scuffle unfolded because obviously I wasn't going to allow him to just take my flag like that. Flags are very symbolic, important items. And a bit of a scuffle unfolded, and I was essentially dragged out of the room by about 4 or 5 guys, spilled out onto the street before we were separated. And that was it, really. But importantly, the flag came home with us. And it brought a lot of publicity to the situation in Ireland, and also exposed how even the man who attacked me, an academic, can be so radicalized on this matter.
Yeah, absolutely. You really did, and good for you for standing your ground. Idan, you're at Macquarie University in Australia, and you got caught up in an anti-Israel rally on campus, didn't you?
Yeah, so this protest was, at the heart of Macquarie University, and there was about 150 to 200 students in attendance. And this protest had absolutely no intentions for advocating for Palestinian life and against the terror regimes that are causing such destruction. And I'm standing there in the midst of this protest in absolute shock and extremely scared. And this is a place where I should feel safe and open to express my Jewish identity. And the fact of the matter is that this protest and the situation on campus at the time was not a place where I could feel safe to do so. There were calls, extremely dangerous calls for repeating the Intifada, the fall of the occupation, divestment from Israel. The list just goes on and on. And, it only goes to show that these movements that so-called advocate for human life and safety of people really do not advocate for this. They only seek to demonize Israel by spreading hate and inciting violence. They're calling for the destruction of Israel and violence against Jewish people, especially on their campus, especially for students like me and my peers, my Jewish peers. And not only that, but also the abolishment of Western civilization. If you take a look at the meaning behind these violent calls to action, they're trying to call for death and destruction in a place that they live in and they reside in. I never usually feel scared for my physical self. It's very rare, and I can say that this is one of those times, and These people who are given the power of freedom of speech by a public institution are only going in and abusing this freedom of speech. And last time I checked, hate speech is a criminal offense, and more needs to be done. Just an extremely shocking turnout of events at the time.
I'm sorry you had to face that. We'll hear more from you in a little bit. I want to turn to Leah. What's the climate like at Brown, where you are, right now for Jewish students, pro-Israel students, and what kind of trends or incidents are you seeing?
Yeah, so things kind of before Brown voted to reject divestment and to continue supporting Israel were pretty bad. We had the encampment, we had, Intifada revolution chants and stickers. And again, it wasn't the worst, but it definitely was a big change from, Jewish high school, Jewish gap year program, all of these things. But honestly, now things are really, really, really much better. I think our president has been fantastic. The corporation, which is Brown's highest governing body, has been incredible and voted to reject divestment, which also was incredible. And I also think that right now there's been this return to calm in the sense of I've been able to have a normal college experience, which I haven't been able to have except for the first month of college because I was a freshman during October 7th. And right now, I'm obviously still incredibly involved in Israel events. I'm vice president of Brown Students for Israel. But I'm able to plan events that are cultural and joyful, not just defensive. And that's a really big change. And this by no means means that any of the challenges are over, but I no longer feel like I have to just fight to exist, fight to be pro-Israel, and fight to kind of love Israel on campus. And I think that that's a big and a great change.
Well, let's hope things trend in the right direction there at Brown, and we'll hear more from you in a moment. Ariel, you're a student in Sao Paulo, and I understand that one of your professors referred to Hamas as freedom fighters. Tell us what happened next.
Well, if only that was the only problem that we were having in our campus, I believe that we would be living better times. The thing of calling Hamas freedom fighters, I consider that a symptom of a process ongoing from a long time right now, that it's building an atmosphere of dehumanization of the Israeli society, of Zionism and Jewish, because at the end, the targets are all Jews around the world, in my campus, in Sao Paulo, and etc. And they do this on the name of tolerance, on the name of fighting racism, fighting homophobia. But I think that there's a particular thing in my university that they adopt the International Holocaust Remembrance Alliance definition of anti-Semitism. And after that, those movements that are led by these teachers that consider Hamas freedom fighters, they're trying to put down the definition of anti-Semitism that in my university is not alone in a statement. It's inside an anti-discrimination protocol that fights racism, homophobia, xenophobia, and all form of discrimination. But it includes discrimination against Jewish people. And these guys that do this in the name of tolerance, in the name of fighting racism, are trying to put down an anti-discrimination protocol only because there is a definition specific for anti-Semitism. So this exposes like them and all the movement that what they are doing is not for Palestinian lives, is not for the tragedy that is happening in Gaza, and is not in the name of tolerance and in the name of fighting racism. It's in the name of hating Jewish people, Zionism, and dehumanization of the Israeli society.
Absolutely, it's real hypocrisy. Jamie, what advice would you give to students who are facing a hostile or isolating campus environment, who may be worried or intimidated?
Well, I think it's a very important question because there are more and more students who, over the last 2 years, no doubt, have been feeling more isolated on their campuses due to the rhetoric that we're seeing, particularly on universities. I suppose they've become very radical places and not the free places of learning and inquiry that they once were. But firstly, I would say that no matter what one thinks, there are always going to be those who have similar opinions to you, and they're just afraid to share them. And so I think a great quote in this instance is the one of Menachem Begin, who said, "We are not the Jews with the trembling knees." And it really speaks to a sort of newfound courage and belief that I think the Israeli state has really inspired in a lot of us. The fact that it will continue to exist and see off invaders and those who want to see it destroyed, as it has for almost 80 years since 1948, and has done so much in the last 2 years in particular. And so one can draw on that as a student. And then I suppose the other thing is then opposing groupthink and mob mentality is very important for a free society. And I think we can see in the 20th century what happens to societies when they become more authoritarian, as only one narrative is allowed on a range of issues. But on this one in particular, there is a danger that in certain places it's all one-way traffic. There are no arguments for our point of view. And so, as Solzhenitsyn said, when it comes to authoritarian regimes, it's not a big figurehead at the top that keeps these things together. It's all the people of the society who go along with the lie. And that can happen in our case, for example, if we hear lies about, genocide or occupation or Israel being an evil state, as Ariel said, or Zionism becoming a dirty word. These ideas have to be challenged because, the environment can become a whole lot worse if only one narrative is allowed to be pervasive.
Very well said, Jamie. Ariel, you're an Emerson Fellow who's leading pro-Israel activity on campus. What would you advise the next generation of Zionist leaders on campus?
I think that's actually a simple question because I can answer in 2 words. You have to do something. Anything, it's an option. From studying the history of Israel, the conflict by yourself, or by forming groups or pro-Israel groups in your campus, everything works. And I think that the world has an idea of the Jewish people, that Jewish people don't respond. They have that idea of the Jewish people who are being slaughtered and massacred in the Holocaust. And Golda Meir actually said once that the world hates a Jew that responds, and we have to respond because we have been in a lot of years not responding, and this atmosphere of Jew hatred was built while we were not responding, and we have to respond. And I think that everything that I did, my Jewish colleagues in my campus, and what the Jewish community in Brazil is doing is to respond every attack that has as target the Jewish community.
Good for you. Idan, you're a Stand With Us Emerson Fellow in Australia. How Stand With Us helped you make a difference in helping you lead, educate others, and creating a real impact on your campus, as I know you have?
I mean, the first 6 months of being a Stand With Us Emerson Fellow have been, nothing but an amazing journey with, extensive knowledge in Israel, Zionism, the history of our great people and our great nation. I've become a stronger public speaker. I'm able to speak more confidently, not only in front of a camera, but also in front of a crowd, and also in the one-on-one situations as well. I've headed stands and tables on campus where I've spoken to a variety of different students from a variety of different educational, religious, and ethnic backgrounds, where I've educated them on Israel and Israel society, and doing that by incorporating my lived experience in Israel as well. I've even spoken to students who have taken interest in pro-Palestinian stance, and I've educated them on the propaganda that these violent and hateful groups are spreading to students across the campus. My experience as a Stand With Us Emerson Fellow has really allowed me to bring in real sources and real evidence to inform and educate my peers. I've been allowed to make such great connections with influential Jewish and also non-Jewish people in Sydney and in Australia and around the world, and I'm ever so grateful, and I'm very much looking forward to the next 6 months of this amazing journey.
Pushing back against a BDS resolution to the Board of Trustees there, didn't you?
Yes. Yes, that was definitely an incredible experience. I can kind of give an overview on that, give some background. So basically, yes, like I'm sure many other colleges and universities, in spring 2024, Brown had a student encampment on the main green. And this was calling on the school to drop charges against arrested student protesters from a sit-in a few months before, and then to divest from companies that were linked to Israel. And eventually, Brown did agree to vote on divestment the following October, which did make us one of the first schools to formally consider it. But one of the kind of big components of the corporation, which is the group of people that kind of votes on divestment, is there's ACRIM. And ACRIM is the Advisory Committee on University Resources Management, and this body is in charge of advising the corporation. It's in charge of dealing with Brown's investments and deciding whether the investments that Brown has are consistent with the morals and values that Brown University holds itself to. So ACRIM, as I said before, advises the corporation and the president. So if ACRIM recommends divestment from Israeli companies and resources, this would kind of be a big signal that Brown should divest. So this was kind of a big situation for us. So I was one of the people to present to ACRIM the following September against divestment. And it was a lot of work. It was very time consuming. And this was kind of one of the times when Stand With Us really was incredible, as it always is. But Shira Gold and Eitan Myers from Stand With Us flew down to Brown, and were kind of just helping us day in and day out how to practice our speech we were giving. We had 45 minutes of question and answer from the ACRIM, from the committee afterwards, how to answer those questions, kind of using the ARM techniques that we learned during the Emerson Fellowship. And we presented, we did not expect ACRIM to vote for us, but in the end they did. They voted to not divest, and they also voted, the corporation, the one that actually decides, also voted to not divest. And this was a huge surprise because, Brown University was very involved in the protests, and really it was just very reaffirming, and it really showed that our hard work paid off, and it also showed the importance of Stand With Us. And at this point, as I said before, things on campus are much, much, much better. And we're just incredibly grateful for Stand With Us, and everything is really, really, really incredible on campus now. And obviously there are still problems, but the fact that we're able to still agree respectfully and have these conversations and disagree with each other without the university making a moral opinion on whether on how Brown should divest, if Brown should divest, has been super incredible for us.
Really great work. So let's do a final lightning round. Just quickly tell us what you would tell new students heading into campus this year. Idan.
To embrace the process. I mean, it's such a special journey. So take as much as you can, learn as much as you can, ask as many questions as you can. There's no such thing as a silly question. Make as many connections as you can, talk to as many people as you can. This seriously is such a special journey, and it's only full of learning, and embrace the journey.
Sounds great. Let's go to you, Ariel.
Well, I think that one of the biggest problems between what is happening to us in our campus is the polarization. So my advice would to seek the end of polarization, search for allies inside the Jewish community, outside of the Jewish community, people who want to engage in really making the world a better place, and be happy. You have to study more than fight back anti-Semites. So,
great advice. Leah, let's go to you.
Yeah, I think my main piece of advice is that it's all going to be okay. Everything feels so difficult kind of when you get there, and with Israel and with academics and everything, but you just have to find your people, whether it's at Hillel, Chabad, SSI, anything like that, and you'll find your people, you'll make connections, and it's all going to be okay.
Sounds good. And Jamie, I'll give you the last word.
I would say don't get too caught up on social media. It can be very isolating and feel like everyone is against you. Get out into the real world, be proud of your beliefs, and know that there are others who think like you, and trust yourself to be able to convey ideas and discuss with them freely. The people who want to listen, that is, not the radicals exactly. But ultimately, university can definitely be a very enjoyable experience, even if it is an aggressive climate, shall we say. But know that knowledge is power, and the facts are on your side.
100%. Well, I want to thank you all for being incredible leaders. It's amazing to me how in such different countries you're experiencing very similar things, but also you really are leading in such an inspiring way. We're so proud of you. Thank you all to Idan, to Ariel, Jamie, and Leah. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.